If the Sony A7C III turns out anywhere close to what current leaks suggest, it may be the most significant update this compact full-frame line has ever received. As of mid-2026, there's still no official announcement, no press release, and no listing on Sony's site. Everything circulating comes from leak channels, forum speculation, and pattern matching against Sony's release cadence. That distinction matters because it shapes how much weight to put on any individual claim below. Still, the rumor mill has been unusually consistent for well over a year now, which is often a sign that leaks are converging on something close to the real spec sheet rather than just guesswork. The A7C III is expected to succeed the A7C II, which launched back in mid-2023 and remains a genuinely excellent travel and content creation camera in its own right. Small, light at around 514 grams, with reliable autofocus and solid 10-bit 4:2:2 color in 4K at 30p. But it also has a well-known weak spot. Shooting 4K at 60 frames per second forces a heavy APS-C crop, which effectively narrows your field of view right when you need it most, like handheld run-and-gun video or wide establishing shots. That single complaint shows up in nearly every A7C II review, and it's the first thing rumor trackers point to when describing what the A7C III is supposed to fix. Interestingly, the timing lines up with Sony's broader roadmap. The company's flagship A7V and high-resolution A7R6 have already landed and reportedly sold well, expanding Sony's share of the full-frame market. Historically, the A7C line follows about a year behind its full-frame sibling and inherits key technology from it. The original A7C borrowed heavily from the A7 III, and the A7C II picked up real-time tracking and AI-assisted autofocus from the A7RV generation. If that pattern holds, the A7C III should be a compact repackaging of whatever the A7V introduced, which is exactly the story the current rumors are telling. Start with the sensor, because it's the foundation everything else is built on. Rumors point to a 33 to 36 megapixel backside illuminated sensor with a stacked, or at least partially stacked, design and onboard DRAM. Some leak channels go further and suggest it could share architecture with a sensor Sony has developed for other recent bodies, rather than being a bespoke part, which would make sense from a cost and manufacturing efficiency standpoint for a camera positioned as the accessible full-frame option. In practical shooting terms, a partially stacked design with DRAM means dramatically faster sensor readout speeds, and that translates directly into two things photographers and videographers care about most: minimal rolling shutter distortion during fast motion, and the ability to shoot high frame rate video without a heavy sensor crop eating into your field of view. For anyone who's fought with a wobbly rolling shutter pan or been forced into an unwanted 1.5x crop just to hit 60 frames per second on the current model, this is the upgrade that actually matters more than the megapixel count on the box. A fully stacked sensor would be the ideal outcome, enabling a blackout-free electronic shutter and near elimination of rolling shutter artifacts entirely, but partially stacked is the more conservative and more frequently repeated claim, likely reflecting cost constraints in a body that needs to stay well under flagship pricing. Powering that sensor is a rumored next-generation processor built to replace the current Bion's XR chip. More processing headroom means faster in-camera calculations for autofocus, better real-time video processing, and more computational features generally. Features like in-camera noise reduction for stills, more sophisticated scene recognition, and headroom for higher bit-depth video encoding. But more processing power also means more heat, and that's the defining engineering challenge of this entire camera. Cramming flagship-level processing power into the A7C line's famously compact, rangefinder-style body leaves very little room for that heat to dissipate. Leaks suggest Sony is still finalizing a new hybrid cooling system that combines passive heat sinks with some form of active cooling before the camera can be finalized in its compact chassis. This is genuinely the single biggest reason the camera's release window keeps sliding. Sony typically announces new A7 series bodies in either the April, June window or the October, December window, with shipping 4 to 8 weeks after announcement. Given that the A7V occupied much of 2020's excess launch bandwidth and needed time to ramp up supply chains, most rumor trackers now point to a November 2026 announcement with December shipping as the most probable timeline. though a slip into 2027 remains entirely plausible if the thermal engineering isn't finished in time. Some forum speculation even puts a realistic release as far out as mid-2027.